Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today, anger is on the menu. I hate feeling angry. I hate it so much. My personal philosophy on anger and how I experience it is that it's an emotion that covers up whatever the root of the problem is. It always misdirects the source and is really hard to deal with. I don't like feeling angry. I don't like wanting to shove my emotions and blame somebody else for something that I'm feeling, because in general, I want other people to have a good time. I want them to experience life in good, positive ways. It doesn't always happen. Anger can be really, really frustrating. I mean, frustration is literally one of the minor forms of anger. It's when your expectation is one thing, your reality is something completely different, and that inconsistency makes your mind go, excuse me, what's happening here? This is not right. That's not what we're expecting today. Why is it like that? And while your mind's trying to rationalize those things, you're just feeling frustrated because it doesn't make sense. And it's okay that it doesn't make sense, because you're obviously noticing the difference in how your mind is perceiving it. All of the feelings that you feel are very rational and very valid. I still just don't like feeling angry. I hate it so much. So I thought I would go into a deep dive on it and see if I could talk myself into understanding it a little bit better. So I did some research and such. Just in case you need more examples of me being angry, here's a lovely clip of me being very angry in the car for no reason. No reason at all. Which is another reason why I think it's a mask.
I am so mad right now. That's all right, and I recognize that my anger is coming from a place of privilege. Don't at me right now. So, I had to get a loaner car because I had to put Nelson's car in the shop for something, and so they gave me a giant SUV, and I'm glad they gave me a loaner car. That's really nice, especially because now the car is going to be in the shop longer. But this car is so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. There's lights everywhere, and I have light sensitivity at night while driving, and for some unknown reason I was stupid enough to decide to drive this thing at night. So now I'm driving it at night instead of my own car, and I had that option, and for some reason I was an idiot and decided to use this freaking car. Oh gosh, now that car is way too far into the other lane. Ugh, frustrated. Don't do this at home. Don't be angry while driving. It's not helpful. I can't figure out how to turn any of them off. My phone is low on battery. I'm really terrible at navigating, and I brought a charger, but they don't have any USB outlets in here. They're all USB-C, and so my charger that I brought from my car has the regular USB connector, and there are no ports in this car that are for that. This is literally and on top of that, this thing decides to use whatever the halogen bright lights are. And so I feel like a douchebag right now driving around because I feel like I'm blinding everyone who's driving in front of me. It's so unnecessary. It's so frustrating. And I know that this anger is misplaced. All of this is just adding up to make me extra freaking angry. Even though this anger is way disproportionate to what I usually feel anger-wise, it doesn't mean it's not valid anger, and it doesn't mean that it's not coming from somewhere.
What do I mean by a mask? I mean it's hiding, it is fronting, it makes you think it is the top priority, but underneath there are other emotions happening that are really why you're angry. For example, so I go to say hi, they didn't shake my hand, and I get angry from that. Am I angry because they didn't follow societal protocol, or am I angry because I feel disrespected? I feel like I'm less than a person, which just means I feel invalidated in a way. Feeling invalidated is a little different than being angry. I looked up the Wikipedia definition because we all know how much I love Wikipedia, and it just said it was an emotional state, including strong, uncomfortable, and hostile responses to perceived provocation, hurt, or threat. I know emotions are hard to explain in general, but I guess hostile is the only thing that I really pinpoint as being anger, because strong and uncomfortable I could associate with a ton of emotions, not just anger. Things that happen around a perceived provocation, hurt, or threat. I also see a ton of emotions that happen around that. And maybe it's just because like my fight, flight, or freeze is more freeze related. Because the anxiety kind of just makes me want to like stop and freeze, not do anything. Or I occasionally get I just need a minute to think about it, walk away from the situation, kind of be done with it that way. So maybe it's that I just don't experience anger as much because I'm more akin to feeling anxiety and feeling stress and feeling like fear of a situation. I still don't understand anger in this context. Well, from what I was looking up, I think this was on healthypsych.com or potentially Psychology Today. Boredom is also a form of anger, where it's like you're not engaging in something productive, and so your brain gets more or less frustrated with that, which is why you feel bored and why you're like looking for something else to do, which makes sense. Looking at it now and reading that makes sense. Ugh. It's more anger, so much anger. I don't usually feel this much anger, which is interesting. Like we all have emotional peaks and shifts and things, right? Like there are some days where we're sad and we're just sad. There are some days where we're happy and our demeanor is just happy, nothing bothers us. Anger is not usually on the menu for me. Another reason why I'm like, what the fudge is anger even? Well, fear saps your energy, right? And anger surges your energy. So you get more energy when you're angry than you do when you're sad. When you're sad, it kind of makes you feel like you're incapable of doing something. And when you're angry, it makes you want to do something and kind of gives you that adrenaline to do something. That one I can understand more. That one seems like something that I can comprehend and say, okay, yeah, that sounds like anger. That makes more sense as a definition. Psychology Today says anger correlates to the fight-flight response, in which anger is fight. Flight would be fear, and I guess anxiety would be freeze, I think, if we're going with like kind of core panic emotions. I'm starting to understand it a little bit more, but I'm still... Defudge! I love you too. Hey, calm, chill, relax. She's not calm, chill, or relax right now. Every single time I film. Every time. Anger. I don't like feeling it. I don't usually feel it. It's still strange. I don't understand why it's appearing now compared to like normal stuff. Like, why don't I feel more anger before now? I have a lot of stressors going on in life right now. Does that affect feeling anger? Very confused on that as well. So I tried to look up more things about anger, more definitions. Psychology Today referenced rhetoric by Aristotle, which defined anger as an impulse accompanied by pain to a conspicuous revenge for a conspicuous slight. Accompanied by pain to a conspicuous revenge for a conspicuous slight that has been directed either at the person themselves or at a friend. Conspicuous in there confuses me a little bit. It doesn't quite feel right, because when I was angry the other day, for no apparent reason, I was like finding sources to try and push it on, but they weren't the sources that were that would usually cause me frustration. Like, it's just out of nowhere. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating. It's exhausting. Anger is exhausting. I looked up Science Daily, which they, to my knowledge, post little summaries and peer-reviewed scientific studies on their page. So this one was about anger, and it found that younger people with kids, and less educated people are more likely to experience anger, which is interesting. Very interesting. Because at that point, and the question they were asking the entire time is how is emotional maturity linked to these certain things that they linked to anger, which would be time pressure, economic hardship, and interpersonal conflict in the workplace. And they're trying to link all of these things to those particular demographics. And I'm like, it confused me a lot. Because time pressure makes sense. I get angry when I have not enough time to do something that I need to do. If I am low on funds for whatever the time period may be, I'm gonna get more frustrated. I understand all of these. And interpersonal conflict in the workplace, if I have to work around people who are constantly giving me stress and I'm not able to get my work done the way I want to do it, I will also definitely be more angry. Those all make sense. The fact that it specifically affects younger people, people with kids, and people who are less educated weirds me out. I mean, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of different types of people, but it's very specific types of people. Like, I think if I remember correctly, it said that people who were better educated when they were given, or when they were made angry, they were more likely to find productive ways of dealing with it. So how are we measuring anger then? Are we just measuring anger based on productive level? Because if you have less time, less money, and harder workplace relationships, of course you're not going to be able to deal with it productively, because the resources that you would need in order to deal with it are not being given to you. So then is anger just a thing that is based off of lack of resources at the end of the day? Like, what is I'm still confused as to what is anger. All I know is that it's an emotion everyone experiences. It's really hard to pin down, and it covers up a lot of other feelings. It doesn't exist alone. It's not a standalone feeling. It's almost always accompanied by another feeling. And that one was, I think I read that in Psychology Today, along with that being my own personal thoughts on it. It's not usually an alone emotion. It's almost always accompanied with something else. Stress, fear, lack of resources, inconsistency of ideas. And the interesting thing about all of this is expressing anger doesn't actually decrease it. Your body gets used to the anger, or it doesn't get used to the anger, it gets stuck on the anger. Maybe it's more like an addiction to being angry and kind of finding that outlet and being able to express it. And so if you start trying to just find outlets for anger instead of getting to the root cause, you are more likely to continue to be angry. So if you go punch a wall every time you're angry, you're more likely to continue to be angry than if you figure out, maybe I punched that wall because I'm not happy with my job and I need to find a job that respects me as a human. That's messed up. Why is the brain messed up? Right now, my anger is covering up sadness because there are so many people affected by this. There's so many people in particular groups, people who I know who would be more likely to experience anger than other people. And I can't help them because I can't identify it. So I have this lovely thing that I can see as a problem and I can't address it. I think that's where a lot of my anger is coming from right now. Getting to the root of the problem. As always, thanks for listening to me philosophize. That was a word somebody said. Leave a comment below on what makes you angry, what you do to deal with it, and what your thoughts are on anger. If it is a cover-up emotion or if it's something else. Let me know. Like this video if you were able to think through your anger and get to maybe a root cause. Like this video if you think I'm full of crap. Like this video if we all just need a therapy session at the end of this. Don't forget to subscribe, please. I appreciate it greatly. And it lets me know that you're interested in watching more of my videos. Also, in case the algorithm decides that my videos are not great, then you'll get to be notified on it. And that's always fun, especially if you ring the bell. Also, a little bell down at the bottom. That's how you get notifications that I actually have posted something. I post every Thursday. And I hope to see you here again. Humble Pie Production, out! Bye.